welcome back to NH Unscripted. We got a new corker for you today. Here comes that rainy day feeling because I am your Fortunes Like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Hollywood Squares-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, where I love to sit in the center square. You know the drill. I got my neighborly jacket on, my platform shoes, my bell-bottom pants. Sit back on those water beds, fire up those lava lamps, turn on those transistor radios because we are going hot today. We're trucking, as we used to say back in the 70s. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios in Concord, 101.9 FM for the cool people in Manchester. And yeah, we got a cool hangout URL, nhtalkradio.com is where we have a lot of magic going on out there. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. First, I need to thank my sponsor, the law offices of Shaheen and Gordon. Oh, we are so happy to have them aboard. Get out your pencils, put it with your legal papers, stick it on your refrigerator because you never know. You just never know. You've been around long enough. You or someone you know is going to need an attorney. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. We love entrepreneurs here. I love entrepreneurs. You might need information about LLCs. You might need copyright information. They do it all over there. They're right down the street from here. I could probably toss a rock and hit their building. Of course, they'd sue me, but I don't know how that would work since they're my sponsor. Anyway, they do it all down there. They do catastrophic injuries. They do workplace injuries. I saw the other day they had an ad on Instagram where they were talking about being injured on a ski slope by some idiot, some maniac who's out of control. You don't think about those kind of things. But you walk on this ground long enough, I'm telling you, you or someone you know is going to need an attorney. They are in Concord, Dover, Manchester, Nashua, Peterborough. I think they got a new place coming up in Keene. They do it all. ShaheenGordon.com is their URL. ShaheenGordon.com. Their phone number is 603-614-5560. Did you write it down? I'm staring right at you. Did you write 603-614-5560? Ooh, we got something to talk about today. In the house with me is Matt Arseneault and Mike Tinsley. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. How are you?
What would possibly drag you out of bed to come into this studio today? What are we talking about?
Let's talk about Bigfoot.
What? Bigfoot.
And in New England.
Yes, there's a connection there, is there not? Okay, first of all, you got to tell me, both of you, how you got interested, because unless you've actually had some kind of a sighting or something, you just don't wake up thinking, I got to do something about Bigfoot. So take it away. How did you even get interested?
So Bigfoot is one of those things that, how can you not love Bigfoot? You know, you see stickers, coffee mugs, T-shirts everywhere, especially here in New Hampshire when we get a lot of tourism. You go up north and you can't help but see, Bigfoot placards outside of a business or something. And me and my wife in the family, we like to go up north and drive around New England and collect these little things. Matt and I have been kind of brainstorming a few ideas to make some content. We wanted to make a show or documentary. And so we set up a few different things, but it was the Bigfoot stuff that really took off. And we were really shocked to see just the level of enthusiasm around New England and people coming to us saying, like, there's nothing here for a Bigfoot enthusiast or somebody who's had a sighting to kind of go to. So we linked up with the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society and...
Yes, he actually said there's a society about Bigfoot. Yes. Yes, he did. Go ahead, sorry.
So it was a lifelong friend of mine, somebody that I grew up with over in Epping. And we kind of talked about some stuff and just started kind of going to events around New England and New York and just started meeting people. And we started meeting people that have had encounters, enthusiasts, researchers, investigators, authors. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful, exciting, thrilling
And as he's talking,
journey.
1 million rabbit holes open up, which I'll try to get to in these next few moments. Matt, yourself, have you always had this thing about, what drew you?
Well, honestly, I'm kind of a Bigfoot skeptic, but what really drew me in is kind of the Bigfoot community that have not been spotlighted in New England. So one thing with our company, Chaos Theater, we wanted to make a documentary series about kind of not just Bigfoot, but the people who investigate Bigfoot, because it's such a big community out here that people don't see.
So let's get out some of the deets here about the company and your documentary, which is streaming on YouTube. Why don't you give me some of those details, and then we can get into some of the other issues about it, because the show itself, it really has me scratching my head. So why don't you give us the URL for Chaos Theater and all of that? And
yeah, so go on YouTube. We're Chaos Theater Productions. We're based here in New Hampshire. And if you want to watch the show, it's Man Ape Among Us, Cryptids of the Northeast.
And how many episodes do you think?
There's 2 episodes right now. We're going to have probably about 5 total.
You are.
And we may do some follow-up content if we can get everybody together after the fact, and maybe do some cool stuff with some of the characters that we met along the way.
Yeah.
Kind of like, recap some of the episodes and some of the stories, and because it is a journey. The last year and a half, 2 years that we've been involved in this, things change. Things are fluid. Relationships come and go, but we're trying to kind of make it all work out, and it's interesting. So right now on episode 2 has been released, and we started the episode with a little bit of drama.
Yeah, you're duking it out up there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. I would not have thought that they were like competing. I guess that's a decent term for it.
It is
competing groups.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is, because a lot of content, Bigfoot content, is made, these researchers and investigators make content of their own, a lot of podcasts, a lot of different things. And so, everyone's looking for the scoop.
Yeah.
So getting there and being the first one to tell a story is, it's one of those things like with most, journalists or reporters or enthusiasts that are really into something, trying to get there first. So there's a lot of, back and forth with people, and you don't know who to trust. It turned into definitely some rabbit holes that we didn't know we were going to fall into. We thought maybe just go out in the woods, bang some trees, and that's it. Talk to a few people at the Deerfield Fair and call it a day. But we got sucked into to the point where we took a year and a half's worth of footage and documentation and rolled it into this documentary series.
So it's they're half hour, right? Is that if I remember correct? So what made you decide to stream it rather than do the documentary one film kind of thing instead? What changed there?
Well, I think what changed was kind of the destination of where the content was going to be. So it was going to be like a documentary film, but then we realized that we wanted it to be more digestible for people. So for people that don't have time to watch a 2-hour movie, they can sit down and watch a half-hour episode on YouTube, and that way they can be engrossed in the process and then come back to the next episode.
So the storyboarding of it, how did you have a definite ending in mind, or did it like come up and you folks go, Oh, that's where we're going to have to stop it, or was it planned out?
A little bit of both, I think. For the first few episodes, we were just winging it. We were just going along and documenting the events, but last summer we decided to, it was probably September, where we make a concerted effort to let's wrap these up. Let's kind of bring these stories full circle. And so we spent September and October every weekend going around New England and going around the Northeast, just trying to get the rest of this stuff in so that it made sense. And so it was a little bit of both. And at the same time too, when you're out in the woods with somebody, especially in a place that you've never been before, you don't know what's going to happen, so you can't really storyboard it in advance, or you can't script it in advance, so you just have to be ready. And then when we kind of put this together, we've been kind of working on segments, storylines. We pretty much, it's like a puzzle in a way, where we just dumped all the clips all the media, everything on the table, and started from scratch.
Dang, we're not going to get through all my questions. I know we are not. Hang on, we got to pay some bills. It's too late to turn back now. I'm your Cornelius Brothers-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, coming to you from the YMCA-like conditions of the WKXL studios in Concord. I can smell the pool chlorine all the way over here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios. Us poor kids get the 6 transistors. The rich kids get all the 16 transistor radios. 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. Yeah, we're just scratching the surface about Bigfoot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. Yeah, I know you got some suspicious minds. I am your Elvis Presley-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the honeymooners-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Norton. Yeah, well, anyway. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sony Walkmans, whatever the plural of that would be. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is where all the cool kids are hanging out. Yep, I'm out there once in a while. Yeah. We are talking about Bigfoot. Bigfoot with Mike Tinsley and Matt Arseneault. Okay. I have some questions. In the second episode, it's brought up about how much time, unfortunately, some folks may have to spend filtering out false or not false, I guess. But I don't know. Some people just like to make up stories. They saw something, they heard something, they felt something, they were kidnapped, who knows. How much of that is real that you spend a lot of time trying to dissect what is and what isn't really a sighting or an accurate?
Honestly, I mean, if I took 20 reports and maybe one of those is someplace that we could actually show up and do an investigation, and then at that we're going to be hard pressed to find certain evidence. So a lot of the reports and a lot of stories that we have, especially here in New England and northern New England, people like to tell their stories, share their stories about encounters, something they saw when they were a kid, teenager, or an adult. But when it comes time to follow up with those, people shut down. They don't necessarily want people snooping around, and that's for a lot of different reasons. So we do have to kind of sort out the crazies and people who are legitimate, people who actually are concerned. And some of those stories throughout the Northeast that we've heard that kind of keep going are the ones from like law enforcement. So if we can get any law enforcement or some sort of official report or something like that, the lead's a lot better to go off of. So we got to kind of sift through all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one person that we chatted with in the first episode, Paul Bartholomew, he said that what really helps is when there's third-party stories that are matching with the,
the corroboration. You get stories from other people. Try to line those up. So a lot of times you hear a story from this person and then across town somebody else. So you kind of put those together to see if they line up. And there's a lot of investigation work. You take a guy like Steve Culls, who's literally, he calls himself the Squatch Detective. He's a private investigator, and that's his main job. Is what he likes to do is actually does a lot of research and background checks on these people making these claims. He works for the BFRO, and they're a national organization that has field researchers and investigators all over the country. So what he does is he'll do some background checks. Because Lauren Coleman, who has the International Cryptozoology Museum in Maine, told us to, you can't believe everything you read.
Yeah, I would think, right?
Or you hear. Yeah. You got to be kind of
I mean, you
leery.
hate to, rain on that, but... Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is that there's so much enthusiasm. People want to tell their stories, and you make that connection with people. yeah, you have the hoaxers and the BS artists out there, the con men. But so many people tell me these stories, and they say how it changes their life. It changes their whole perception of reality and what they see. So this is definitely something going on, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it.
So as I watched the first 2 episodes, I'm thinking to myself, have they, with all of the people who have had a sighting or whatever, I know that some people have come up with a casting of a footprint, but have they not ever found like a hair, a fiber, a place where these animal, I guess I shouldn't call them animals, I don't know what they are, cryptids, we'll stick with that,
Sure.
which I need to ask you about that, where they're like, I hate to use this term, but going to the bathroom or something, or a hut, or is anyone using drones? I mean, how have we, do we have anything like that besides I saw something in the woods?
So I think the networking is kind of is getting there, at least on our end. We're connecting with a lot of people who are scientists and even drone operators, just people who have that specialty. And we're looking to do some more stuff here in New Hampshire. But people find hair, scat all the time. And what happens is they sent it out to get DNA tested, and it comes back inconclusive. Because, and I'm not an expert in the field, but what they say is there's certain markers that describe what type of animal it is. And if it's unknown, it's going to come back inconclusive. So whether it's something other than, a black bear, or a coyote, or a human.
So they can't even delineate how much percentage of that fiber or hair might be from the human side of things or from an ape side? They can't... I know you're not a scientist. I know you're not. You don't work. I know.
It's a rabbit hole. It really is. There's there was a woman who put out a whole report on the DNA, and she made some stuff. She said that she thought she narrowed it down, and of course through that work being peer reviewed, they kind of tore it to pieces. So. Kind of left there in the open with some of that work. But people are trying. A lot of people say that they'll send out some stuff to get it looked at, and then they don't hear back from the,
Really?
Yeah. So there's what they do, what they tell me, they don't send it in and say, hey, here's some Bigfoot stuff we want to check out.
Yeah.
That's the last thing they
First
do.
flag.
Because they'll never get it back, and they'll never get. And so I think there's a lot of that. There's still a lot of stigma and a lot of stuff with it. There's just questions in this universe that we don't know.
No,
So what's
I know.
wrong with asking a question and going down that rabbit hole? It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all.
I was fascinated by the number of people because I'm not in that circle. I don't actually trade in any of the unknowns. But so as the video, especially the first episode, where you're at these conventions and you're out talking to people, and I mean they're doing their own calls. I was fascinated by the number of people who care or take an interest in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they have clubs and organizations, that just blew my mind.
And every state has them.
Every state.
Yeah. Every state has their own organization as well.
And so we're talking a huge number of organizations, and they can't pin down anything more concrete, more definitive.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly think a lot of researchers are, they're hobbyists. They're people that like to go out into the woods,
Right.
and they're looking at tree structures and things. And a tree structure is, could be the way trees are bent. There's a lot of speculation and whether or not that was done by nature, or an actual somewhat intelligent creature bent these things to create different structures for different reasons. Native Americans used to do bend trees for markers in the woods.
Yep.
They'd bend them over a sapling, and it would grow at certain angles and stuff. I've seen bears mark spots where bears mark their territory by bending over some trees and stuff like that. So it's definitely not out of the realm of reason to that if there was a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch that they could be using these for these tree structures as trail markers, territorial displays, even basic communication. But the idea to use a drone in a place like New Hampshire, especially in the summer or the fall, you can't see under the foliage. You're not going to be able to see what's on the ground. And the way New Hampshire and New England, for instance, it's not flat.
Yeah.
If you're a deer hunter or if you've been out in the woods, you could sense something real close, but you can't see it, because it could be a ravine, 30 yards away. And if you've been out in the woods in New Hampshire, whether it's northern New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, like I said, nothing's flat. It's super dense. So I think to actually find those evidence using the drones and using the thermals and all that, this technology that we have now is going to take a lot more coordination because, a hobbyist high school kid can throw up a drone. It doesn't mean he necessarily knows what he's doing, what he's looking for. So, I'm interested to connect with some people or a few drone operators that, for instance, have some military background when it comes to, research, reconnaissance and stuff like that. So I think that's narrowing that down. And it's new in the military realm, too. So I think that's going to be coming up in the future where we're finding more evidence through drone footage.
All right. Going to put a pin in it right there temporarily. Matt Arseneault, Mike Tinsley from Chaos Theater Productions in the house. Yes, we're talking about Bigfoot. I know. You got to go out and see the episodes. We'll get into that a little bit more when we get back. Ain't no mountain high enough. Let me tell you, I am your Marvin Gaye-like host, Ray Dudley, and we are coming to you from the dating game-like digs of the WKXL studios. I'm so happy to be out of bed. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Oh, you bet I got questions. We'll be right back. Welcome back, you lucky listeners. We are your Ring of Fire. I'm your Johnny Cash-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. My God, it's cavernous in here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. We love you all down there. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. We are talking Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever other name, with Matt Arseneault, Mike Tinsley from Chaos Theater Productions, who did what is now a YouTube series, but started off as a documentary. Gentlemen, number one, as you filmed this, what was the biggest surprise as you filmed it? Were you like, at the end of it, nope, nada, this is just a nothing burger? Or was there something where you're like, holy mother of God, there's a village of them out there? Anything?
I think for us, when we first started getting into this, and we got a call, as you can see in the first episode, when we went to Henniker.
Yeah.
There was a guy posting stuff on Facebook, and it wasn't only our group, the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society, but other groups around the country, too. So that's when we kind of got that explosion of people coming in. And we were excited to see, not only did we want to, find a story and do an interview and go around town, but we realized that people were coming in and competing for this spot. So it got super territorial really quick, and that took me by surprise.
Mike, what caused that? What caused that?
We think that this individual was just seeking notoriety and just kind of playing along, kind of LARPing, if you will, role-playing, cosplaying, because he said there was an abundance of Bigfoot out there. He's literally, me and my buddy Kelly, we're different areas of this floodplain looking over.
Yep.
As we got Pat's Peak in the background, so it was a great location. It was a great spot. But he's like calling out a Bigfoot in front of us, and we could not see it. And we had the turf covered so that we strategically did that on purpose.
I'm watching that episode, and I'm like, wait, if I squint or if I blink fast, do I see it? I'm like,
well, that's the thing. We were unprepared, too. We showed up with just doing a scout mission. I was literally showing up just to do a scout by myself, check out the area, check out the lay of the land. and not tell anybody we were there other than a few people. Then I got a phone call, said that this guy was willing to meet us. So I called Kelly Porter from the New Hampshire Bigfoot Society. He drove over to Henniker from Barrington, and we kind of split up. And this guy was telling us stories. He's telling me that they eat these berries, and I'm like, okay. And it's February that we saw it, and I asked him. I said, okay, what time of the year was this? Were they eating the berries? And he's like, spring. And I'm like, berries don't grow in the spring. I don't. The only thing that was even showing up was these little multiflora rose hips, which are an invasive species, and they still stayed on, the vines all winter long because they're invasive species and nothing eats them. So, he's trying to tell me that they eat these berries that nothing locally eats anyway. So there was that and a lot of other stuff where there was two trees rubbing together, and he's like, oh, that's it. I'm afraid to go over there. And me, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah,
let's
kidding.
go.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
And we didn't get a lot of that stuff on video, which is because we weren't prepared. I literally showed up with the binoculars and my cell phone. I was in Concord at the time, and I kind of dropped what I was doing to go over there. So when we got into that, we realized that there was a lot more to this Bigfoot thing. Yep. Right, wrong, or indifferent, like there was just a lot of stuff going on, and we had to dial back a little bit, reassess what we were doing, and kind of regroup.
I think what Henniker did, though, is prepared us for the future. And as you'll see in the next few episodes, that we go on more Bigfoot hunts, and they get more extensive.
Still within the state? Within New Hampshire?
We actually leave New Hampshire.
Yeah, I do a little thing. I do something.
No, I don't want to spoil it. No, I don't.
I will say this.
Stay tuned.
I do have some really cool audio stuff. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot. Not sure what it is, but we're at the Boulder Fields over in Pawtuckaway. So that we had some very interesting stuff over there.
Audio
stuff.
Okay.
And we may or may not have it figured out. We're not sure. You have to check into episode 3.
Will do.
But we go to the Adirondacks at the end, and that's all. We'll kind of leave it there. It kind of builds up, and we didn't know what we were getting into. So after Henniker, we're prepared for everything. We're just ready to jump into it and make sure we have, trying to build that network too. It's a big part is building a network. It doesn't take two guys, it's more than just two guys go out into the woods and looking at these things. You need people back home at the computer, checking, Google Earth, for instance. Yeah. You don't always have a drone available to just pop up, so you got to, got to do a lot of that reconnaissance and surveillance stuff through, whatever's available. So with those tools, that's where it's opening new doors.
Yeah, right.
Because we can take like a different approach to finding Bigfoot.
Good. No, yeah. I'm glad you said this. So one of the things I noticed, one of the gentlemen on episode 2, I think, said, "There's not that there's more of them, but there's more people looking for that are out there looking for them, and so the sightings become more cumulative." Okay, 2 questions. When you were done filming, were you satisfied with the conclusion? Were you? How do I put this? Did you discover what you set out to discover, or were you just left with so many more questions yourself that need to be answered?
I think there's always more questions when you do something like that. We didn't get necessarily what we thought, but we found
because you put a lot of time into this.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you must have had some expectations of, hopefully.
Well, that's the thing. I think we're hoping, and we're still. It's still kind of open ended. We're still looking for that perfect opportunity, but we think we're kind of narrowing down just by talking to people who are researchers and putting themselves out there. So you got to kind of trust these people, right? The one thing about the Bigfoot community is if you put yourself out there and you're giving fraudulent information and you're just BSing, it's quick to get cut down by the rest of the community. They're policing themselves because they want credibility. You take a guy like Lauren Coleman, who runs the museum. He's we call him the godfather of cryptozoology. He's a researcher, and he says, I do not believe in Bigfoot. I do not believe.
He runs the museum?
His thing is
One of these things is not like the other.
well, that's it. He says as a scientist, though, you have to take belief because that's the provenance of
good
religion.
for him. Yep.
So you got to be leery, and he told us to be leery of the people making these reports. Spend a little bit of time and investigate them too. He's had some stories told to him where he's just like mind blown because he has a background in psychology and stuff like that. So that's where he kind of takes it. My background, I'm a landscaper. I've been landscaping here in New Hampshire for 30 years. So plants, the outdoors, the neighborhoods, the people, like that's my vibe. I walk into the communities, into these neighborhoods, and I feel at home talking to people, and I feel comfortable. So that's kind of my background. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I wanted to go on Naked and Afraid one day, but I got Lyme's disease, and it kind of set an auto, so that's not going to happen.
see.
Plus, my wife won't let me go naked on TV, so that's not.
What?
But
I'm sure people are just hounding you for that.
no, but in all seriousness, being outside and just going down those rabbit holes is what really drives us, and it's more questions, more questions, more questions. It's an onion, peeling it back. Sometimes it makes you cry. Sometimes it tastes good. Sometimes it doesn't. So that's where we're at.
Was there any piece of evidence ever that you came across that you felt was more definitive? I mean, I'm guessing maybe these castings of footprints might be the closest thing since you can't get anything off of DNA off the hair or whatever. But is there anything in particular that you came across that you're like, oh, okay, there might be something to this because I hate to say it, but a casting could have been, a clown shoe or something. I don't want to denigrate it that way, but I mean, you just don't know. But is there something yourself that you looked at or came across in all of your traveling that you said, oh, might be something here?
I think for me, it was more just seeing the devotion these people are putting and the time they're putting into finding Bigfoot. It's like they truly believe that he exists.
Yep.
So
you're going off their faith.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, too, it's like they're devoting their whole lives to this. So to me, it feels like there's got to be something that they're talking about. If it's not Bigfoot, then what kind of animal are they looking for?
Well, that's another whole... You had things in episode 2. I don't know what they call those, monkeys or gorillas or whatever. I'm like, my God, there's a whole anthology of these things out there. What in the world? So it's a good, really? Hang on. I knew this happens every single time. My goodness. Yeah. Well, you can't always get what you want, can you? I'm your Rolling Stones-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from deep within the bunkers of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yeah, don't try to find us. We're buried, baby. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. And yeah, we're knee-deep in Sasquatch stuff. We'll be right back. Biting your fingernails, just waiting for this block to come up. Yeah, baby, because here comes the sun. I am your Beatles-like host, Ray Dudley, coming to you from the Gong Show-like digs of the WKXL studios. And no, that does not make me the unknown comic. 1450 AM, that's for you all you old folks. 103.9 FM in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. You can go out there. There's a button where you can listen to this show live every Wednesday and Friday morning at 9 a.m. To those of you who like to listen to this show in your car, maybe, I don't know, maybe they got you strapped to a bed somewhere in you. Never mind. Anyway, you can go out there and you can listen to it. It's the archives of this, what should be an award-winning show, plus all the other great stuff that takes place here at the studios. Go out there. You wake up 2 or 3 in the morning, having your little warm glass of milk, and you need a friend. Go out there. We are talking Sasquatch, Bigfoot. What other names, gentlemen, there's like a gajillion things, right?
So here in New Hampshire, we have, it's still kind of a toss-up of what it is.
Demon monkeys.
Yes.
Good God almighty.
There's devil monkeys. Episode 3 is going to focus on the Danville devil monkey story from 2001.
I can't wait.
And one of the things that we found, this phenomenon known as the wood devils. Some people think that it's just its own entity, this ghost, this spirit in the woods that is traditionally up north, but we think they might be coming down because there's been reports here in southern New Hampshire of these creatures. So a woods devil, if you ask Alex Petikoff, a New Hampshire guy who works for Small Town Monsters, he's a world traveler, documentarian, he covers a lot of this stuff. He thinks it's a type of Bigfoot. So a little more slender than a traditional Bigfoot.
They were frightening, actually.
Right.
They were frightening.
And but we've had reports from kids who don't know anything about this, say they're in the woods and they see these weird things. So that's, kids tend to be open and free with a lot of this stuff. They don't have the reservations where a lot of adults do. So we've been kind of checking into that and learn more about the woods devils. They're interesting and kind of creepy at the same time.
You touched on an episode too, right? It's the little girl who hid behind the wood stove, and her parents were talking about that. That was interesting. I didn't know if they were just kind of goofing on her to make her scared and get back in bed or what. But
well, that's a thing, and that's But these stories, she heard that when she was younger, and she's carried it through her whole life. We asked her to, maybe even show us around, and she didn't want to talk anymore. She didn't want to give details. She didn't want to give locations, and that's kind of what we find is. People here in northern New England, they don't want to necessarily talk. They want to share their stories and their experience, but they don't want to put themselves out there like that.
Man, okay, before we go too far, please give me your information again, any URLs, any dates coming up that you're doing things in.
Yeah, so Man Ape Among Us comes out every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Okay.
You can find that on youtube.com/Chaos Theaters Productions. And then you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere that you can find us.
I just want to touch real quickly on the name, the Chaos Theater. Is that did you create that specifically for film? Because it's a theater,
yes.
Right? So I'm just curious what.
Yeah, so the name kind of comes from, the way that I enjoy like films and content and stuff. It's like, life is kind of chaotic, but you kind of have to learn to enjoy it. So that's kind of where that comes from.
So where do you guys go from here? Were you satisfied with where this ended, or did it just make you go, okay, we need to get back out, we got to hit the road, we got a few more open-ended things that we have got to tie up here if we can. What happens now?
We left like there's more.
Yeah.
When we left, we were satisfied with where we'd come and what we've done, but there's so much more going on. So this summer in June specifically, we have, I think it's the 7th, the weekend of the 7th, out in Western Massachusetts, the Cobble Mountain Critter Fest with the Vogel brothers and a lot of other people, a lot of other researchers around New England are going to meet there, and it's going to be a great time. And Charming Fair Farm over in Candia, the 22nd and the 23rd will be their second annual Scouting for Bigfoot event. We were there last year. It's when we really kind of met everybody. A little bit of that will be touched up in this next episode, too. And the kids came through. We talked to a lot of kids, a lot of locals, business owners, and we were just blown away by the support and the enthusiasm of the Bigfoot content, products, just everything about Bigfoot. Like I said when we first started with, you can't help but see the Bigfoot stickers, T-shirts, mugs, everywhere.
I was shocked by all the memorabilia that's out there, collectible items.
Yeah.
I was stunned by it. I mean, what these people think of is fascinating when you go out there. You showed the conventions and stuff. First of all, the conventions blew me away.
Whitehall, New York is the one from the first episode, and we went back that was from 2003. That was our taste to it. We went
2023.
2023, 2003.
Yeah. Welcome to being old.
Yeah, we showed up not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research on the Bigfoot stuff and realized that I learned more than I thought I was going to, but the community was so just welcoming.
They are.
And
they're not like skeptical of you coming in. Who are these guys?
No, not at all. It was we literally
super supportive.
Yeah, we went back last year. We talked to event organizers again. They were happy to see us, and and it had grown. It had doubled, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
From the first episode, that Whitehall event, it doubled last year, and I think it's probably going to do better.
Tripled.
Yep.
So how does that double? What audiences? Who has finding out about this that didn't know about it before that would make it double in size like that?
We're doing our part.
Just advertise people, word of mouth. People are like, oh, you got to come out here.
So we work with Penford Media, some guys out in Western Mass, New York, Vermont area. And they have a YouTube channel, and we started kind of working with them with this content, and they did really well on the documentaries that they kind of made from that. I think that had some, a little bit of help because, one of those I think got like over 200,000 views.
Something like that, yeah.
So it started stirring, and we've been talking about it. We've been meeting people there, and as we go around and meet people and we talk about it, and hopefully not that obviously we're not the ones that bringing people there, but I think showing that enthusiasm encourages other people to share that same enthusiasm, and they want to learn more about it. So it's building a community. So right now for the next upcoming year, we got events planned. I have more investigations planned. We're going to go up to Littleton, hopefully sooner than later, to do an investigation on a dogman report from a hunter who didn't want to be known. He didn't want his name to be public.
Of course not. Of course, I never do.
But
wait, so what's a dog man as opposed to Ray? You shouldn't have asked that in the last block.
So what started out was with Bigfoot for us turned into like a whole lot of other stuff. And sometimes you take the Danville Devil Monkey story. It's probably likely that it was an escaped monkey that nobody wanted to claim for whatever reasons, and the fire chief saw it, ran around town.
It's like the Bat Boy on the front of the Enquirer thing.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But in the meantime, since that happened, with the internet and all the stuff, it turned into like this crazy story that this devil monkey came from the depths of hell to torment the town, and everyone's out there with pitchforks and torches trying to hunt the thing.
This is like a black and white film. We're going to storm the castle.
And we went to Danville, and people were willing to talk about it, but they didn't want to go on camera. Seriously. That's probably the biggest surprise is we thought people would be so enthusiastic to talk about this stuff.
So why do they want the anonymity? I mean, if they're willing to talk about it, and I'm sure they talk about their friends and neighbors.
I think they're afraid of looking crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think.
Well, then they don't ask you to disguise their voice, do they? With one of those voice.
Honestly, we're putting ourselves out there. We don't really care about that stuff because it's just who we are, I think, and we're trying to encourage other people. We were at Whitehall last year in 2024, and we were getting some chili, and a lady said, I've never told anybody about my story. We were carrying cameras, but I want to tell you guys my story.
Just don't show my face?
No, she was
actually agreed.
Oh, she did.
She was worried, and she's like, I never told it, and she doesn't know why she came to us specifically. Maybe we're easygoing guys and easy to talk to, but and that's what we've been finding. People have been coming up to us because we're friendly, open, enthusiastic about stuff. So we're kind of breaking the ice with that a lot and just trying to get people to put themselves. It's okay. It's okay. And we find the older communities, especially anybody over 50, if they got nothing to hide anymore.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I think when you get that age, you're like, okay.
Yeah, you've embarrassed your kids enough. I've done it. I've been there.
I just turned 51, so I'm kind of there too, where like. Yeah. No reservations anymore. I'm over it. I paid my dues in life. I worried all I could, and that's it.
Oh my God! Yeah, give me your deets again.
So we're Chaos Theater Productions. The show's Man Ape Among Us comes out on YouTube every Sunday at 8.
That was Matt Arseneault and Mike Tinsley. Dang, that was a fast hour. Oh mother of God! Yes, you really got a hold on me, baby. I'm your Smokey Robinson-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Green Acres-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Oh, you wanted rungs with that ladder? It's another old person thing. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM for the souls in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Head over to YouTube. I've been up for the last 2. I'm telling you, it's hooked. You get hooked. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.